to the ArmChair GM podcast. Well, it's been an emotional week for the Flames, and I would say that they've handled it very well so far in the last two games. They looked really, really sharp against St. Louis. They dominated a good chunk of that game, and in really good form. Everybody was moving. It was really impressive. At one point, it was 12 shots to 1 in the third period, which is, I mean, that's
And they
super
scored
great.
on
I
the
mean,
goal, on that shot.
on the yeah, they scored on the one, and yeah, obviously we scored on one of the 12 as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was a really good effort. I really appreciate what I'm seeing out of Sharon Govich right now. He's looking like he's having a blast. He looks like he's skating around and moving really, really well.
He looks like he's
I'm,
engaged all around too. Like
all
you
around.
see him on the bench, he's
Mhm.
talking with his teammates, he's watching the video on the iPad, he's talking with the coaches. He's not, often you'll see guys who, not that Sharon Govich is in a slump because he's not, but you see guys who
Yeah,
might not have produced as much as they'd like to have been producing throughout the season,
yeah,
sitting back and being quiet and being in their own head, especially guys like Sharon Govich. Like he doesn't have anyone on the bench, especially when Kuzmenko isn't there, who he can talk to in his native language. So the fact that he's going out and being like that is a good sign. Means he's part of the team, and that's good, especially with the extension and all that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and let's be honest, like the way he started the season, he was clearly struggling. He was trying to get back into form. He missed a good chunk of the beginning, right? So trying to get back into game shape and playing catch up to the rest of the league effectively. Everybody on the ice. It takes a lot out of you, right? You're not physically there yet, and you could tell even it's just his demeanor. His head was always down. He looked exhausted. He looked like he wasn't having fun. But ever since he got those 3 games in a row where he scored a goal, he's really stepped up his appearance on that. He looks engaged. He looks happy. He looks like he's trying to make stuff happen, and he looked really impressive against St. Louis tonight. It was nice. It
Even
was
his
really fun to watch. Yeah.
which has never really been a you know big thing for him. Like, not that he's been slow, but he's never been a burner. But there's been a few times,
Mhm.
specifically there was, I can't remember who the St. Louis player was, that he came back and kind of thwarted an almost breakaway. It was like a partial
Mhm.
breakaway, and Sharon Govich came flying back and
Yeah.
like, and you don't see that often from guys who want to score goals like as much as Sharon Govich does. But
Yeah.
it's good to see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. And you kind of notice him even last year. He didn't have to be the fastest guy on the ice. He was really good at picking the spots and finding that opening. But I'm finding this year he's digging for the puck in the corners. He's going after the puck, and he's creating his own opportunities. And I'm surprised he hasn't been putting more in, as especially in the last couple of games, because he's looked better in the last 2-3 games than he did the 3 games before that when he was scoring. So
I actually kind of agree with that.
hockey's a fickle thing, right? It's there is such thing as puck luck, and but if he keeps going at it, he's not going to have any issues whatsoever. I don't think. I think he's going to be. He'll end the season, I don't think, obviously, with the same amount of goals as he had last year, but he'll have respectable numbers. And then next year, I think if he can continue with that sort of that drive and that energy, I think next year will be a really good season for him.
I'd like to see them stop trying him at center. And I know it's been a couple weeks or whatever, maybe a month
Mhm.
since they did, but that's about the time, like, you know, they moved him off center, and then like a few games later, he started becoming
Yeah.
more involved and bet because some guys just like, even if he is even if he was the type of guy who couldn't actually win a faceoff, which he isn't, but even if he
Yeah,
was, there's so much more to being a center than there is to being a winger. And some guys are just better wingers, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
one.
Yeah, and he's proved time and time again that when he's when he's playing the wing position, he seems to be able to get himself in a better position and scoring opportunity and plays happen. when he's when he's in the center, I feel like it's almost forced for him, and he's trying to play something that just doesn't look and feel natural to him. But yeah, dude, you're right. I think, as far as I'm concerned, the experiment is over at center for him, or should be, and let's focus on keeping people in there. Like Zari. Like, obviously, Zari needs to improve a lot in faceoffs before we can actually call him a center. I mean, he's playing the position and he's playing every other aspect of it very well. But one of the key things is starting each play with the puck. So, I mean, he's sitting at what, like 32% maybe in the face-off right now, and that's
Sharangovich or Zeri?
Zary.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah,
really, all of our centers need to, and Zeri for sure, but all of our centers need to improve on that.
yeah,
A couple games ago, Backlund had an 82, I think, percent.
yeah. Sounds about
But
right.
other
Yeah,
than that, all of our centers have been pretty rough.
yeah. He's literally at 1/3. He's at
So
33.3%. Yeah, Zary is,
yeah,
which
isn't
he, like I said, he's playing every other aspect of the position very well. But I mean, I think he needs to spend a very good chunk of the off season just training face-offs.
no,
Right?
well, maybe not just, but mainly
Yeah. Yeah.
get
Yeah, I mean,
get
I
Adam
think
Oates in
Backlund's
there, and or somebody who's
that's right.
you know a noted face-off expert.
Yeah.
Also, this is something that bothers me all the time, but I noticed it quite a few times tonight. Not even Flames related, but just in general.
Mhm.
The refs throw people out of the fucking face-off circle for no reason all
Yeah.
the time, and it happened to Backlund like 4 or 5 times today.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Um,
did nothing.
he did not. The guy's got the puck out. The guy's halfway through dropping it. Backlund moves. He's like, "Oh no, never mind. You get out of here." It's like, well,
Yeah.
drop the
Drop the
fucking
puck.
thing. Drop the puck.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna
Yeah,
move before you drop the puck if you actually just drop the puck with any sort of urgency.
yeah.
Like, ah,
Yeah, it's almost like you're goading them into doing something,
that's
right?
exactly what
But
it is.
you'll find also, though, a lot of times when they're getting thrown out, it's the other linesman making the call because one of the wingers are trying to encroach on the center, and they're
Mm,
they're coming in too quick. So you do see that as well. But you're absolutely right. Just drop the fucking puck, right? If they would just drop the puck, they would eliminate 80% of throwing guys out of the circle.
no, yeah, I agree. Like,
Let the centers be there and do their thing. Drop the puck. Like, the
maybe
show's
I
not
should
for
look
you.
into it a little more, but I want to know what the actual rules are because I don't know if they call the rules on that or if they. Sometimes I feel like it's just like a fuck this guy, he's out,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
other times I just feel like it's the guys, the guy who's dropping the puck, his eye twitches and he sees what he thinks might be a stick, and he's like, oh, and, like it.
yeah,
There's just no actual consistency to
and
that. I do want to say something though with the goaltender interference stuff. Um, and not even like related to today, but in general, whether you agree with the goaltender interference that's been happening this year, like the calls or not, I think that
yeah,
they've been fairly consistent with it this year. Where, and I think you said this maybe a couple episodes ago,
yeah,
where um, they're calling the same thing most of the time.
yeah. I think that I said that in relation to I am trying to think of the game now. It may have been
The crease,
the
I think you were saying.
game against it must have been Columbus, the first game in Columbus, where I think that was the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. We got called for the goaltender interference, and then there was a similar play on the other end. And I was honestly worried that they weren't going to call it, but you kind of had to call it in that situation because you've already done it in the other end, and then
Mm,
they actually did call both sides, which is refreshing because I mean, still to this date, nobody,
knows what
and
it
that
is.
includes players, coaches, video review professionals, fans, and the league, in my opinion, know what goaltender interference is.
And
Like,
this includes players whose job it is to stand in or
yeah,
outside of the crease. And they're like, well,
right,
my coach tells me to do this because this is what the rule is, but then the
yeah,
league tells me this isn't the rule, right?
yeah.
But
I've been
I
doing
do think
this
they've
since
been calling
P-League.
it well this year.
They've been more consistent for sure. Yeah,
So let's
yeah.
get into today then.
I wouldn't say necessarily calling it well, but consistent.
Yeah,
And as consistent is right now the best I can ask for. I will
that's what
say.
I mean by well, unfortunately,
Yeah, yeah,
is at
yeah.
least they've
Right.
been calling it
So
the same.
though tonight I will adamantly argue against the result of tonight's.
So I want to hear what the league has to say about that. I don't know if they will or not, but
Mhm.
so I'm curious if the fact that the puck went off of Sharangovich and into the net. For those of you who don't know, there was a play in overtime that was actually the game-winning goal. That Colton Pareko came in and got a rebound and went to poke it, kind of, and missed the puck, but poked Vladar's pad and pushed Vladar into the net. And then the puck went off Sharangovich and into the net behind Vladar. So I'm curious if is that an accurate way of describing that?
In my opinion, no,
Oh, okay.
because Crick definitely hit the puck.
What's that?
He Pareko definitely hit the puck. It's his goal all the way through. He hit the puck before he hit Vladar's um pad.
Oh, before, yeah, yeah, but he missed the puck on the second go, but it bounced off Vladar's pad, hit Sharangovich, and went in.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it was in my opinion.
No, okay,
Um,
that's how
when
I saw it,
yeah,
anyways.
when he came in, he hit the puck and then pushed Vladar's um, pad out of the way, and the puck went in.
Okay, okay, well then we
Yeah,
see it completely differently because but also I don't know if that would be a good goal or not if it's the way I saw it, right? Because
right.
if it's the way you
I
saw it, I totally agree that it's not a good goal because in that instance, he would have just pushed the goalie in with the puck at the same time. But I thought
yeah
the puck bounced out and hit Sharangovich and went in.
yeah no.
Which
Um,
I
I
don't know
can't
if
remember
that's a
who
good goal
came
or not.
in on the play initially. I can't remember who it was. But he made that save, and then I don't think Vladar had actually had a chance to touch the puck after Pareko hit it. Because as soon as he hit it, he immediately, you know, granted it was follow through, but he pushed his pad like 2 feet,
S-
maybe
Uh,
more, like a
about
considerable
2 feet,
distance.
and you
Yeah,
could see the flex in his stick. Like it
yeah,
wasn't a nudge; it was a push for sure.
it was a push, 100%. Yeah, there. I was I had the pleasure of watching the Blues broadcast, and holy cow, they're like, there's there is absolutely no way this is goaltender interference. He he just touched him in the leg and his leg went back. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. And I think this is what the issue is, right? Is you hear two different sides of the same commentary, and it's like I'm watching and going, how is that not pushing his pad? And like I'm
Oh,
and
he
the fact that
absolutely pushed his pad in.
he absolutely pushed his pad in, and the amount of time that they took to watch the 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 call after the fact, when the refs were watching that, I'm actually blown away that they upheld the goal, right? They had so much time to look at it, and I I'm that that right there, as as you said, I have said, and I do agree that it's been more consistent, but that goal tonight was the way it's been for the last 5 years. Like, what the
Bad.
fuck is goaltender interference if that's not it? You're not allowed to push the pad into the net, period. It's in the rules. You cannot do it. So why is that a goal?
Can you
Like,
pull that up
I don't care
and
I don't
screen
care
share it?
who it bounces off, right? I really don't care who it bounces off. You
Yeah.
can't push the pad in, right? Let's see if I
No,
can.
no,
I'm s
no, no. I agree to a point, but
mm,
I agree that that's how it should be. But I don't know what the rule is. Like, if it bounces off somebody else, like if somebody pushes your goalie into the net, and then like say Sharangovich turned around to clear it off the backboards like an idiot and just put it in instead,
yeah.
but somebody
Mhm.
had put right, like that's still yes, it's goalie interference, but that would probably count, right?
Right.
So how is that
Right,
any
you're
different than it just bouncing off them?
right, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. Okay, let's see if I can,
Yeah, if you
see if I
can.
can
I know
I
we
think
don't
I
do this
can.
very often, but we'll give it a shot.
Alright.
There's a couple other things I want to talk because honestly, like this game was good, and I think that especially for the first two periods, it was
Mhm.
even though at the end of two periods it was 2-2, I think that it
Yeah,
was a goalie battle, and both goalies were really, really good. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. Alright. So, obviously, he comes in, Vladar makes his save.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
See that's Parayko's stick. Sharangovich's stick is up and out of the way. Mm.
yeah. That's not a good angle of what I was trying to look at.
No, I agree. That's the one provided by NHL. I'll track down a different one.
Oh no, no, it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll look at it later myself and
Yeah.
maybe give a better breakdown of it later, um, or on another episode. Great podcasting,
Yeah.
by the way. Uh, either way, do you kind of agree with me on the fact that even though Vladar probably, well, definitely faced way less shots than Bennington, both goalies had a similar performance. Like I think both goalies played fucking lights out tonight, even
I
though it
think
was
almost
4-3.
every goalie you talk to will tell you that a goalie that does not face any sort of volume is in a worse position because they're not in the play and they're not playing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and which would have been Vladar in the third. Vladar in the second was lights out. He was
Mm-hmm.
really, really good. And even the two goals that happened to him in the
First
was it the
period.
first? Yeah, it
Yeah.
was two in the first. Um, the two goals, like he didn't have much of a chance on either one of those. Like they really weren't. The second goal, yeah, I'm gonna think your second goal. There was a bit of a defensive breakdown from Bahal, which we don't normally see when things are up and around the net. He's usually really good at clearing the lane and getting people out of there. And
Yeah.
he, as soon as it happened, you look at Bahal and he immediately went, "Oh, yeah, that's on me," right?
Yeah.
Like he knew it. So it was very uncharacteristic from him, in my opinion. That that shot, that first one-time shot that went past Ladar, most goalies aren't going to stop that. Like that happened fast, and that second shot, that second goal was unbelievable. That was an
It was a
unbelievable.
beautiful shot.
Yeah. So I don't really fault him on either one of those. But he was lights out in the second. Like he kept them in the game and gave them the opportunity to get back into it and tie it up. So no, I think he played very well again. I mean, coming off of the shootout against Columbus on Monday night, 13th win, or when night was that? Tuesday night, whatever night it was.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the last couple of games he's looked really good.
Yeah, and like you said, even though he let those two in the first, and you were talking about that one timer that rep that he let in.
Mhm.
I mean, he
Yeah,
saved about 7 of those throughout
yeah,
the game, and he let one in. Like, what do you expect, right? Like,
yeah,
the to me, the volume doesn't matter as much, and we were talking about this, I think, on the last episode, as much as the high danger saves
yeah,
count. And I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I gotta think his high danger save percentage was fairly high tonight. Like
yeah.
he, I want to say, like 40% of the shots he faced tonight were high danger, and Bennington too. Bennington did fairly
Yeah,
well on, but he just had more high danger shots because he had more shots, right?
the Blues broadcast, I think it was about three-quarters of the way through the third, said that the high danger chances were 7 Blues, 12 Flames. I don't know if
That
I
doesn't.
necessarily agree with that. Um, I felt like there was more on both sides.
Yeah, I-
Mm.
yeah. I mean, I don't sit there and count it, so I can't tell you, but I do think
Yeah,
that I don't think that was really accurate. Either way,
yeah. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping for the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. If you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
so I want to ask you
Yeah.
about Jacob Pelche, and I
You
don't
look pretty good tonight.
just mean the goals, but I
Mhm.
mean, or the goal that he scored today, but his game all in all. Um,
He had a couple of really creative and nice plays with the puck that didn't materialize into anything, but he seems to have picked up some of that confidence that he came into the season with year before last, right? Where
yeah,
we kind of came in, some
this
things
other season.
happened. He was happy and and making his own plays, if you will, or making his own chances. And I've seen him do that a couple of times in the last couple of games. The first game there against Columbus, that was a weird game, right? Emotions were
That's a
high
write
for
off
all
of a game.
players.
Like we
Yeah,
won, but
like, I'm
that's
not.
a write off.
Yeah, 100%. Like that. I don't think that I'm not really going to take much stock in his performance. Then I thought it was meh, but
Yeah,
there was a lot of players that were meh, and that I don't understand. I'm not going to fault any of them, right?
like he's one
You
of
know,
the only players on the team that played with Johnny Gaudreau. think about that. Jacob Peltier, him, Rasmus, Coleman, Backlund. That's
Yeah.
it. Vladar.
Yeah, Vladar. That's interesting, eh?
Yeah. Coronado too. I think he played one game. I could be wrong though.
When
At
did
the end,
when did Jacob play with him other than training camp, though?
the Souther season,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
like 20
Yeah,
games. Yeah.
yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, yeah, my bad.
Yeah. He took an
Bless
entire
that other
year off
season.
basically of being in Calgary, but well, with the Flames.
Yeah.
Either way, I agree. One thing I thought that he brought to the team that we've been desperately missing, and I think Dewar did a little bit, but not as much as Peltier did, is taking the opportunities given and earned. So,
Mm.
and I don't mean like roster spot, I mean scoring opportunities. He shot the
Yeah.
puck a lot. He, when he got it and he was in a high scoring spot, he didn't like
Mhm.
defer to somebody else just because he's on the ice with whoever, right? He actually took the opportunities.
Yeah,
And
I
that,
agree.
that
And
the
Dewar
Flames need to
really
do that.
looked like the same player that was here 2 seasons ago. His play behind the net and his physicality was really nice to see. It was good to see him doing that again because he really got away from that last year
Yeah.
and wasn't, it creates more opportunity for your team, right? If you can take the defender out of the play, it gives us a chance to get the puck and start trying to cycle around and get something to happen. Last year, he he just seemed disinterested in most of what he did, which is weird because the year before that he was just flying, and picking up points and just he looked really good. And tonight he looked. I was impressed by his game. You noticed him for the right reasons multiple times throughout the game, in my opinion. At least I
Especially
did.
there was like once I noticed in the third period that I only noticed him once, but
Mhm.
throughout the first two periods, I noticed him. It must have been almost every shift doing something good, whether it's
Yeah.
hard forecheck. He had, like you were saying, he had a really hard forecheck today. He was taking those opportunities when they were given. He earned those opportunities by through hard work and all that type of stuff. A couple of good defensive plays as well. This
Yeah.
is
And he,
again like I'm not going to go out here and say, oh yeah, Pelche is going to be a first line, you know, winger
right.
anytime soon. But I think that if he can keep up his play from today, I think that he might be able to stick, and that would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And with his hard forecheck and the way he was creating energy tonight, he was rewarded with an additional 2.5 plus minutes compared to his line mates Pelche and Lomberg tonight. So that's
Was he
good.
on
I
the
mean,
power play or?
hmm,
I don't
Jesus,
think so.
I don't believe he was, but he
Yeah,
was likely on the penalty kill, which we were in the box a lot.
yeah, and they also gave him a couple of shifts with Huberdeau, at least
Yeah,
one that I can remember, um,
yeah,
and that seemed to go well. I mean, again, like you said earlier, Huberdeau's been. Let's go on to that. Huberdeau's
yeah,
been playing really well. Um,
yeah.
Snake bitten as fuck. Like this
Oh
guy
yeah.
could he could have easily have 5 or 6 goals in the last week. Um,
That pass from Kadri there, and just to tip in, right? I mean, I jumped out of my seat because it was exciting. I was like, yeah, it's just a Thursday night game against the Blues. Chris, calm down. But it
yeah.
was just, I mean, he's driving the net and he's doing so well being the dickhead in front of the goalie.
hmm
Like he's really good at that. and I had no idea he was that good at it. But this
Because
year,
he hasn't
he's
been doing
thriving
it
off
for
it.
years.
I know, but he
So
should have been this whole time. Like, he's really good at it.
Huska, I can't remember which game it was after, but Huska was asked about Huberdeau.
Mhm.
Um, fuck, all the games kind of meld together at some point, but I remember in this specific game, Huberdeau did not get a point on the play, but he did a flyby on the goalie and screened him, and the
Mhm.
shot, the long range shot went in.
Yep.
And Huska was asked about it, and I think this is one of the games like you and I had talked about this as well. Um, and he said Huberdeau is so good when he takes the eyes away from the goalies and tries to get rebounds, does drive-bys, all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And to me, it's hard to praise him a lot because he's been insanely underwhelming,
Mhm.
and that's putting it nicely
Yeah,
since he's joined the Flames, right?
for sure.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, over the past few games, you've seen a different Jonathan Huberdeau,
Mhm.
and you see sparks. I've seen sparks of it throughout the last several years or couple years where he's shown that he can get in front of the net, and then he doesn't do it for 5 more games or whatever, or he shows that he can battle on the boards, and then but he's got size and he knows how to use it, and I think
Yeah.
he's just realizing that he can play that game as well, and it's
Yeah.
not something that he's ever really done before because he's always been that finesse guy, right?
That's right. He's been the high skill guy, but he has to understand that once you start getting to a certain age, the finesse starts to decrease. Like, the body just doesn't it isn't capable of it at an elite level. You can do it, but it takes a lot more effort. And he's starting to understand that he has different tools in his toolbox that are actually effective. And when he's doing it, it's really good to see. And he almost looks like he's working in different areas that he's never really done.
Hmm.
You know, like in front of the net, against the boards. Um, he still does have that pass mentality, and he's really good at it still. If he can find appropriate receivers, then he's, you know,
That's the problem with the Flames.
he'll excel. But
Yeah.
if you don't have the appropriate receivers, you have to create something else. And for him right now, that something else is making it happen in front of the net, making it happen in the corners and along the boards, and just creating opportunities any way you can, right?
Hmm.
And he's doing it, and he's very effective at it. And I hope that he realizes that that's kind of got to be his game right now. If he wants to get back to, I mean, I don't think he's ever going to get to elite status again, personally. But if he wants to get back to effective hockey, he needs to be able to be effective in other areas. And he's
I think
doing it
he's
right
been
now, and he's been
effective
doing
for
it
the
for most of this year, right?
yeah. That's what I was about to
You know,
say. I think he's been
yeah,
effective for most of this year, and you still see those comments all over the place, like Hubert Doe and
yeah.
all of this nonsense about how shitty he is, and like
I
he's
mean,
not a
it's
ten
been
and a half
warranted.
million dollar player, but
That's right.
he's been a lot better this year. He's been a lot more engaged, and um, it's weird because his points are probably now just around on par with last year, but
Mhm.
I think he's
I mean,
been much better, and I think he's
I mean,
helped his teammates more.
I mean, Huberdeau's biggest fault and problem right now, and essentially throughout his tenure here in Calgary, is allowing Brad Treliving to talk him into $10.5 million. Period.
The
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 fan
Darnell
base
Nurse
needs
of
to
it all.
yeah, the base needs to understand and realize there's two signatures on that fucking contract. A player will always accept a lot of money. If you're a manager and you're going to give somebody that much money, that's on you. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I want him to produce, But if we were paying him $5 million,
you'd be happy.
we wouldn't. Yeah, you would be okay with what's happening.
And at the same time, I don't know. I'll shit on Tree Living all day for all sorts of things, but like that is a player who came in. I think it was 5 years of well over a point a game,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah. Before he
it's
came
not
here, he
like
was a
the
point
proof
per
of
game.
concept wasn't there. That
True.
was a logical contract. It might have been like a little bit too much, but it wasn't. Nobody
Yeah.
could have guessed that this was going to happen, right?
It was
Either way,
yeah,
he's
it was a
been way
huge
better.
drop off, obviously, but I mean, at the end of the day, we all know what happened. Treliving lost the guy that he was gonna give 10 million to. He panicked and gave 10. He's like, I gotta give 10 million to somebody because the owners said I can, so let's fucking go.
Mm.
Now I found my guy, and now the fan base has been shitting on him ever since. I mean, don't get me wrong, his first 2 seasons were pretty abysmal, and it was it was tough to watch the decline of such an elite playmaker. But I mean, you got to understand, in order to be an elite playmaker, you have to have somebody that can receive that pass. And the Flames have suffered with that for years, right?
Do you
And so when you have
remember?
two guys that walk out the door that were elite at that, as like you got Gaudreau and Kachuk gelled because you had an elite playmaker and an elite finisher along with agitator, and they played so well together. And so, I mean, this is the end result, right? You got to have players that can receive the pass and make the play, continue on, and score from it.
And I do find that that happens a lot um with Huberdeau is, and it's happening less now, but I find he throws a pass to somewhere where one of his players is, or one of his players is
Should be,
very close to, and
yeah,
you know, a player he may have played with before would have been able to get that.
yeah,
Um, and he's now learning that he can't do that so much. He still does sometimes, but it's not nearly as often as before. And he's making a lot more solid tape to tape passes now, even ones that you aren't expecting to actually. There was one today. I think it resulted in Coronado's goal because I obviously he saw it and Coronado saw it, but because of where the camera was fixated, I didn't see Coronado coming in from way back there. He was
right,
trailing, right? He was the fifth guy and he was trailing. And Huberto, it looked like he was just throwing the puck back over the blue line,
yeah,
kind of, didn't it?
yeah. Yeah, is like, oh, he's doing that again. Great.
Yeah, yeah. But and it looked like a no look back, a no look backhand to
Yeah,
nowhere, but it actually just hit Coronado's stick, and then
yeah,
Coronado scored. So
yeah, yeah. If you can, if we can find you know a center and another winger that can actually play multiple games with Huberto, he'll find chemistry. He'll take note of where players are, where they normally would be in certain situations, and I'm sure he will adapt and make those passes. But he has to know that the person he's passing to is going to continue doing what they would normally do, right? That's chemistry. You have to build that. When you have these elite playmakers and they're trying to lead the play, they're not just trying to get it to you, they're trying to get it to where they think you should be to continue this play, right? They're not going
yeah,
to pass it here, they're going to pass it forward, so you're going forward towards the net, so you have to be going that direction. And so the more he plays with people, the more they're going to understand that concept, because I'm sure they talk about it in practice. I'm sure that's what he's telling them.
yeah,
And so they're going to start adapting to that, and he'll adapt to that situation. And It's going to happen. I don't think he's going to, ever get to, 100 points again, but
No,
there's no reason why,
he can't
you
get
know,
to
he
70.
exactly. There's no reason why he can't have 45, 50 assists, right?
Yeah. And I think one reason it worked so well with Bennett and him, as much as Bennett's not my favorite player, but Bennett's very much a straight line player,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
He goes like you were just saying, he goes straight to the net. He
Yeah.
parks himself there. He goes for rebounds, he goes for passes, he goes for little tips,
Mhm.
whatever it may be. And Huberdeau
Yeah,
knew that that's the only thing Bennett was going to do, right?
that's right. Yeah, he
And if
doesn't
you
fuck
go back
around
and
and
you
try
look
and
at some highlights of Huberdeau and Bennett together, and Duclair for that matter, you'll
yeah,
see almost every goal. There's maybe like 3 or 4 different goals that were scored all together, if you know what I mean.
right.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
the 3 or 4 different
yeah,
goals, and then every other one was like a carbon copy of one another. Whether
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
the cross crease to Declare, or whether it's the bump off Bennett or whatever, right? Like he just
It's
knew where those guys were going to be, and he played off of that.
absolutely, and it's way more difficult to defend when you're forcing the play and throwing it to where the guy is going to be, opposed to where they are at the moment, right?
Yeah,
Defenders are looking where they are at the moment. Sometimes they can get their stick in the lane and interrupt it, but it's way more difficult to defend that, right? And as
absolutely.
long as you have, you know, somebody that's passing and somebody that's receiving it that know the game plan, they know the assignment, right? And you're right. You're 100% right. Bennett is a very north-south guy, and that's those are the types of players that Huberdeau excels with for sure. That's why I think, like,
So
I think a Coronado would do very well with him because he's very much a north-south guy. He's fast. He doesn't waste time going side to side in the neutral zone. Just get the fuck in there and let's go. Right? Doesn't you don't have to waste time being flashy. Just go. Go
yeah,
north.
I thought you were going to say Pospisil because that's like exactly what he
Yeah.
does.
Yep. Agreed. That's 100%. Yeah, we do have a couple of guys that are like that. I suppose that's probably why point production isn't really happening between him and Zari, him and Sharangovich, because they're not really that, right? Yeah, that's a good point. You should
Yeah,
you should give Ryan a shout and let him know.
did I mean, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last year.
I'm pretty sure you did as well.
Yeah. And I'm
And
pretty sure I
I mean,
mentioned it in the fact that we should put him and Pospisil together.
it's true.
Um,
I mean, there's one of the other reasons why Bennett and Huberdeau gelled.
you're gonna say because Bennett's an elite player, aren't you?
He's an elite player that he's a Team Canada player.
Yeah, yeah. So is
We need
Colton
team more
Pareko.
Team Canada
by the
guys.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Maybe they
apparently
should put
Mackenzie
Huberdeau on
Weegar.
Team Canada.
Mhm. I could think of multiple players that I'd rather in playing for Team Canada for that tournament.
Yeah, I could think of
Not that it
multiple players
means
I'd rather
anything.
than Pareko as well. But anyways,
Yeah, yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of
What are you
Pareko.
talking about? He's an overtime. He's an overtime machine, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Just push the goalie's pads out of the way, and you got free reign of the net.
Yeah.
You can do whatever the fuck
The
you
Corey
want.
Perry of it all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess he was Team Canada too. Ugh.
Has he not scored a gold medal goal for us before? I don't know. Anyways,
Uh,
so let's move on to that then. What's your excitement level for this fucking foreign nations thing?
so I remember when they announced it that it was happening. There was a thing. And then I completely didn't think about it again until they just started announcing rosters. I could honestly give a shit about it. I would rather the NHL continue playing
Me too.
than risk players getting injury in a meaningless tournament.
I'm sitting here thinking like Rasmus Anderson plays like fucking 25, 27, 28 minutes a night. You
Yeah,
know what
you
we
can choose a
really need
week
him
off.
to do is not take a break. I'm
Right.
really happy. Like, as much as I'd like to see Uyghur on Team Canada playing against Anderson, jawing at each other, that would be fun as fuck. That would be the only reason
That
I'd
would
want
be
to
fun.
watch that tournament.
I
But
bet you they would actually be pretty fun to watch against each other.
I 100%. But
Yeah.
I'm happy that Uyghur's not there
Mm.
because that guy
He
needs
gets
a
to
few
rest.
fucking days off already, and we're not even halfway to February.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Like,
Yeah, and then Anderson's probably going to play 26 minutes for the couple of week tournament. So that's
I don't think so. I think that I mean they've got what Hedman and
Mm.
Carlson and Brodeen. I think I can't remember who else, but I think they've got
But do
enough
they have
other
any defenders? Do they have defenders though?
Brodeen. I guess
Brody. Yeah, yeah.
that's all he's good for.
Hedman's obviously better than Carlton.
Well, yeah. So is
Carlson. Where the fuck his name is?
so is my dog is better at defending
Yeah,
than
yeah.
Carlson.
So is Kadri.
I had to think about that. It's close. It's
Right.
close.
It's
Close.
similar.
I think Kadri's probably a little better at defending than
Kadri's
Carlson,
just not
but
not not
but
the
Carlson's
not.
better offensively. So
I was gonna. That's 100% what I was gonna say. Yeah, they're pretty close defensively. It's just Kadri's just not nearly as good at offense. Right?
that's rough.
Eric
Fuck you know
Carl.
you know how to make me laugh. I do like that.
Slip it. I don't care.
Fuck, those
I
are like
stand by it.
probably my two least favorite players.
Right.
Fuck.
What about that $9 million defender up north?
Oh, I don't mind him. He's up north. He's
Yeah.
causing shit
I,
there. Anything that makes Oilers fans go nuts is happy with me.
sure. That's fair. That's a good point. I mean, there's a couple of players through the league that I
Also, if Nurse was a $4.5
really
million player and
that's
was relied on as such, he would be perfectly effective.
fair.
It's the $9.5 million 30 minutes a night thing that's the problem.
Well, when your main focus is drafting offense, then you got to have somebody that can play the defense, whether they're good or not.
Well, they've got Ekholm. They just had to trade for him.
Oh, right. Yeah. We should
He's
just
actually like
bury.
he's my favorite Oiler
Hmm.
because he knows how to defend, and the rest of them don't.
Right. Right.
Kulak maybe because at least he used to be a Flame.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's not exactly a force offensively, but he knows how to defend.
Yeah, he's kind
I
of
didn't.
like
I didn't
Brady
mind.
Pahal.
Right.
Yeah, just older.
Perfectly good defender.
Yeah.
You're right. You know what? You're actually absolutely right. There's a lot of similarities there. I like that comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought of that.
I actually don't. I never disliked Kulak. I
I
never
Me neither.
understood why we let him walk or go or whatever happened, traded him. I
Yeah, yeah.
could have just as easily had him play on the Flames for a long time.
Yeah, bottom two pairing. He could be either one. And then, he's
Yeah.
just good at what he did. Quietly went about his business. And that's really what I want most of my defenders to be,
There's
for the
the
most part.
odd one, like whenever Zane Perek comes out and becomes
Yeah.
whatever he's going to become, like you want to notice guys like that, right? You want to
Yeah.
notice defensemen whose thing is offense. Not
Well,
and like I'm terrified that he's going to become Eric Carlson because
Mm.
you have to be able to defend. And I'm sorry, but like Carlson has been terrible for like 12 years.
What about Shillington? Don't they have him playing as a forward now?
I know that he played at least one game as a forward in
Mm.
Colorado, but that's the same thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I remember you and
as
I
a forward,
watching.
nobody would care.
What's that?
Eric Carlson as a forward, nobody would care.
No,
He's literally just in the wrong position.
dude would literally be I mean, he is 100 point, or he was 100 point player the 1 year.
Yeah.
Just sucked. He was like a -30.
Yeah, how was that? That's such an amazing stat.
Yeah.
Well, he just mostly got power play points. Yeah, okay, sure.
So that just means he's like terrible 5-on-5. That's
Yeah,
what I want out of
which
my number
yeah,
one
which
defense.
is exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I'm
that's
terrified
not
about
good.
Perec.
And
Because
that's
I
fair.
feel like that's a logical like outcome, don't you think?
Mm.
Maybe not the
I'm
100
just
point thing, but the terrible at defense part.
I'm just gonna say he's young. He's
Yeah.
gotta get better at defense, right? He
Yeah.
has to.
Speaking
He
of
has
Team
to.
Canada snubs.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's fine. So that one goal that Uyghur scored tonight,
Mm.
that entire sequence from RN to goal was all it started with him and ended with him. Uyghur, that is.
He is
Yeah. He's you know what? He's just such a dependable player. He's very good in all three zones.
I want to
Does
say
not
this,
get enough credit, in my opinion.
I
He really
agree.
doesn't.
And I want to say this about him and Anderson. Both of those guys, if they had the players behind them this year so they could play 2.5, 3 less minutes a game,
Mhm.
they would be even more effective. Because by the end of the
Yeah.
game, they're getting tired. Like Uyghur straight up pulled a Mangiapane and just fell over for no reason today. At that, and I think that was like 12 minutes left, 10 minutes left in the game on the power play.
No, it was closer to like 3 minutes left. Like it was.
Was it near the end? Yeah.
Yeah, I was near the end.
But he played an amazing game. Don't get me wrong, right? Like
he did.
and
And
Anderson
thank
did
God
too.
he was able to get his stick in the way and get the puck away from them as well, though, in that play. Like he had the wherewithal to not give up on it. That is the difference between a Uyghur and a Mangiapane or a Shillington. Is yes, he went down. He still knew he had an
He
assignment to break
swept
up the
it
play.
towards, and he kept it
Yeah,
in too.
that's right.
Did he not? I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he at least it happened. Guys blow a tire all the time, but at least he didn't give up on the play, which is what you want from a situation like that, right? Like it
Yeah.
was like as soon as it happened, it was like, oh God.
Yeah.
I was worried, obviously.
Yeah. No, I was too. And you're right though. The guy, it's funny because he's not a guy who lays a bunch of like big huge hits, but he picks his spots and he
Yeah.
takes advantage of other players' weight distribution almost, and he like muscles them over as opposed to
Yeah.
running them over. And
Yeah.
he's very cerebral about the way that he hits and
Yeah.
and defends, because he does the same thing where he defends and it's something that reminds me. This is going to be maybe a weird throwback, but to Corey Sarich, actually, the
Mhm.
way that Corey Sarich used to like knock a guy's stick up and then like muscle him down at the same time. Uyghur does that
Yeah.
quite often.
Yeah. I mean, Sarge was good at that, but he was also
Sarich
good at
had the
laying the
hits
boom.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, like he could really run you over. He was a train. Um,
And that's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I can see what you mean though. Um, but I mean, like that goal he scored tonight that Huberdeau set up for him. Like, I mean, he picks a spot and he hits guys that aren't paying attention. Like he's crafty at that. At you know, it's not necessarily running them over. It's just they're not in a position to be stable. So
Yeah.
he just hits you and knocks you to the ice, and away we go. You know,
That's a good way to
going
put
into
that.
the zone.
That's what I meant
Hmm. Yeah,
when I said the weight distribution thing. Like, yeah.
yeah. Like they're just not paying attention. They don't know it's coming, and so he takes advantage of it. He's a smart player, right?
Mhm.
You know, he's not the biggest guy. He's what, 6 feet. You know, around 200 pounds. So he's not big. Um, but he's crafty. He's been in the league a while. He knows what he's doing. So I
Yeah.
think he's yeah. I've got all day for Mackenzie Weegar. I really do. I think that right there was the great addition from the couple of players that we got from Florida, and Huberdeau's just been you know robbing the bank ever since. But at least making himself worthy of some sort of pay in the last couple of months, which has been nice.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the excitement of being in the Saddle Dome for Game 7 while Johnny Gaudreau scores the overtime winner against Dallas. If you weren't there, it's probably because you didn't know about Game Time. Game Time has some fantastic features such as Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easy to save money on sports, concerts, comedy events, theater, all sorts of different things. They also offer all in pricing. They have seat views so you can check your seat before you pay. They have the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage, which means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
I want to go down the blue line a little bit. So we talked a little bit about Uyghur. We talked a little bit about Anderson. Kind of.
Yep.
Again, I'd rather neither of those guys play at the Four Nations, so they could both have some time off and chill. Um, Jake
I think
Bean.
Anderson's feeling it, though. I think he should continue, to be honest. But I do agree. I do understand what you mean by they should get some rest. But
Yeah.
Jake
Oh,
Bean,
that's fair.
uh,
How do you
um,
feel about Bean? He's been in and out, but
you know, I have mixed emotions about Bean. It all depends on the play. He's either pretty good at defending or he's a disaster. Like there doesn't seem to be an in between with him. He but for the most part, he's been pretty good. Um, I would probably give him a B minus so far in the season for at least for the games he's been in. He's been noticeable mostly for the right reasons.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, I think Bean, honestly, I think he should have played more games than he did so far.
Yeah,
Um,
but then who do you take out, right? That's the issue.
like Barry, because
Yeah, I
when
mean,
Bean's been scratched, Barry's been in, or
mm,
Hanley has been in. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind Hanley, but
yeah, yeah, I
I
don't
do
mind
mind
Hanley
Barry,
either,
but
but
I don't mind Hanley.
Barry can spend the rest of the season just collecting his paycheck and eating popcorn, as far as
Yeah,
I'm concerned.
yeah.
Like whatever is what it is. No
But
harm, no foul. Just stay off the ice.
Yeah. When it comes to Bean, though, I think that yeah, I kind of agree with you. He's been good, but he hasn't been great, and I don't think
Mhm.
he's had a couple of gaffes, but he hasn't been bad by any stretch. He's just kind of been there most of the time, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what you want out of a guy who's your 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, like we already know he's nothing flashy, right? So
Yeah,
as long as he's not screwing the team over, then
which I don't think he
sure.
has.
No, no, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miramonov.
He's had some really good games. He's also, I mean, he's a risk taker, right? And we knew that
Mhm.
about him from watching him in the few games last year. Um, do I want him on my team long term? Probably not. Am I worried about him at the moment? No.
Can
You know,
I ask you, how fucking epic would it be to have him with Chris Tanev?
mm, that's an interesting thought because I do like him with Uyghur as well. I
I
think
do too,
having,
but
but I don't know if I would go as far as to say epic, but I think it would be fun to watch.
yeah,
Because like
epic's
he
the wrong
does
word.
take those risks, and I think he does have really good ability, um, creating stuff. I, as an old defenseman, I prefer my defenders to not be behind the opposing team's net as much as he is, but it hasn't really cost us. So mostly because he's had backup, right? I have found that the forwards this year have done a really good job of being in the spot and hovering.
Backlund especially,
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
time, all the time.
Backlund
Backlund's that good.
and um Jesus, why am I drawing a blank on his name?
Jason.
Um Pospisil, sorry. Pospisil I've noticed
Oh,
there a
really?
lot as
Okay.
well. Yeah, yeah. I've noticed him getting in that position a lot. He's and I've actually seen him more than once in the last, say, 2 weeks skate hard from the corner to the defensive position.
That's
And
good to
like,
know. I'm
yeah,
gonna
I was
start
like,
paying
holy shit,
attention to
look at him
that more
go.
because I can't say I've noticed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, as long as players are covering that spot and we have a capable defender on the other side, go for it. If
Yeah,
you can try and make something happen, if you're able to make something happen, great. Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been happy with him on the team. I just don't know if he fits into the long term plan.
I don't think he fits long term.
No.
Miramonov, I think, is a good stopgap, and I think he's a guy that we could
Mhm.
probably flip even if we needed to, or
Well,
you could even just let him go. Really, like
I mean, I'd rather get something for
I'd
him.
rather
I
get
don't think
something
we're
for him
going
too, obviously. But
we're not going to get we're not getting a first or a second for him. But
are you going to be
why not?
crushed if he just leaves?
No,
Slightly
no,
disappointed.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I'll be
yeah,
like, come on, Greg, do better, right?
and
That'd be about
he's
it.
not
Like,
bad. Um,
I'm probably not going to do any sort of a post on social media about it if it happens. Is what I'm saying.
at the beginning of this year and last year, I really didn't like Miramonov, but he's grown on me a little bit. Grown
Yeah.
on me is the wrong term because it's not like I'm a huge fan or anything. He's just kind of like
You're
he's
more
not
accepting
as
to.
bad as I thought he was, and he's just kind of okay.
It's good to see that you're accepting of the player,
Yeah,
which is kind of where I'm at too.
yeah, yeah.
He's on the team. Great. I mean,
Kevin Ball, you
I
were
would,
talking about Kevin Ball earlier.
yeah, yeah. I would rather have him on the team over Hanley and Bean.
Well, okay, but is that where the bar is?
No, no, no.
He's like 6'7". The bar's got to be higher for him.
Who, Bean? Or I mean, Ball?
Oh,
No, no,
6'6".
I'm talking about Marimano. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, no, Ball. No, I really like him on the team. Yeah, yeah, no, I'm a big fan. He's he's really good at the reach, and he's really good at picking his chances at using his size. Right. He utilizes his size very well behind the net, which I, the first couple of weeks I was like, I don't know about this fun guy. Like he's just lanky and weird, right? But when you really step
And
back and have a
jousting
look at him,
defense.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or like Hamilton, for instance,
Except
right?
Hamilton actually had offensive skill.
Sure. Um, I I'm pretty sure, and I might be one of the only Flames fans that couldn't stand Hamilton from the very first game. I I thought and still think he's a terrible defender.
He's a terrible. No, I agree with that. He's
Like
a bad defender.
I I
Um,
had I had no reason in my mindset to have Hamilton on the team. Like I hated his time. I would never compare Ball to him. Ball is a way better defender,
it's funny
but
because
but the lanky I do get, but mm,
at one point today, I saw a ball reach back in the defensive zone and pick a puck up off of, I can't remember who it was, but off of one of the
mm,
other guys on the other team. He like reached back, grabbed the puck, huge sweeping motion around the guy, grabbed it, used his reach, right? And I actually had
yeah,
typed out in our group chat that imagine if Hamilton used his reach like that instead of just taking penalties.
right. Yeah, your reach can be used for something else other than hooking, right? I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
and that's what Hamilton did.
Yeah, yeah.
So with Kevin Ball, we've we discussed earlier kind of in our group chat about what his next contract might look like because I believe it ends at the end of the season. He's a pending restricted free agent. We have all sorts of cap space. Not that we should blow it on anybody. Kevin Ball's been playing over 20 minutes a night. He's been
Mhm.
playing basically top 4 minutes. It's hard to say which if it's the first or second pairing, but he's playing with Anderson, which is either 1A or 1B, basically, depending on the night.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, he's interchangeable as far as 1A, 1B, right? He can, I'm sure he would be just as effective playing with Uyghur.
yeah. I have no
Yeah,
problems with his play. I can't even think of a bad play he's made, honestly, this year. I really can't.
I did find it funny though, right in the middle of us discussing what we thought his next contract would look like. He takes a
Oh, he took a
penalty.
penalty,
It's like, yeah, yeah, there it is.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
so I mean,
whatever.
his current
Guys,
contract was a 2-year contract worth $2.1 million. So 1.05 million per season. Um, and it gets him in. He's still a restricted free agent at the end of this contract, which does expire at the end of this year. It can be 25. I mean, there's all sorts. Like he's not flashy. I don't like we're not paying him, in my opinion, north of 5.
I
But
think
I do
five's way
still
too high.
I think five's way too high. I still stand by what I said in the chat is 3 by 3, 3 years at 3 mil. I'd be
Yeah.
comfortable with that. And then you get to see if he's truly ready to make the next step once we're supposed to be in a more of a winning way, or we're trying to start to become a contender of some kind. So I think give him the 3 years. It gets him to being 28. He'll be a UFA at that time.
Yeah.
During the summer before and through that season, then we can decide whether we sign into anything further than that. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if three. Like, I'm okay with 3x3. Like as a max.
Mm.
I don't think there's like a crazy upside. Again, like my favorite thing about him is his reach, right? Like,
Mhm.
which is a great quality to have, but it's also a genetic quality and not a specifically hockey IQ or anything like that type of quality.
Mhm.
I'd be accepting of 3x3, but I would rather give them a little bit less both term and money and do like a 2x2.5 type of thing. But like really, what's the difference? Right? We have all sorts of
Yeah,
cap. It's pulling hairs at the
yeah. I feel if you're able to get a third year in, because I do believe that buys at least that buys an additional year of free agency, right?
yeah, it does.
Um, and I truly think it would be a movable asset if need be, next year, year after, if we can send a a ball to a contender at the deadline and he still has another year locked up, I think it makes it more juicy and worth more. Not saying I think he's worth a lot, but you just never know. He's still 25, so he's young as far as defenders go.
Yeah,
And then, a year from now or 2 years from now, then we get to see what we have in Poirier, and hopefully we get to see what we have in Perec, and then we get we can assess our D at that point. I think I don't think we should do anything more than 3 years, but I think 3 years is a good contract for him, right? Because then I think at that point we got Ball that we can make a decision on whether we keep him or move him. We got Maramonov that we can move probably, if not this year, next year, and then we see what we have in the rest of in the rest of the cupboards as far as defenders. And 'cause in my opinion, I think Bahal is going to be here long term.
oh,
I
I'd
think
love
I
that.
think
I'd fucking love
yeah,
that.
yeah, like he's just one of those just steady defenders. Um, I don't know what Bean's going to end up being. I don't. I think his next contract will be 2 years. Um, I can't see Hanley being here next year.
I can't. Yeah,
So like you know we'll have Craig will have some decisions to make as far as next training camp, and I think it just gives us more options. But
I do too. I find
what
it
I like
funny
less,
that,
of
that
course,
you're
but
talking about these guys and bringing up guys like Perec and Poirier first. Like to me, if you're talking about Kevin Ball, you're more looking at like what's Grushnikov
Zoliov,
going to become.
yeah,
What's Kuznetsov, what's
100%,
Solovyov, what are those guys going to, the more
yeah,
defensive stay at home guys, right? Because
truly, yeah,
because if you're talking about Miramonov leaving, or you're talking about Barry leaving, or even Anderson leaving, you're probably thinking more about the Perex and the Poiriers and
mm,
the Muse and those types of guys, right? Whereas
yeah,
now Muse is on a different level, like a
yeah,
lower level
yeah.
than
He's
those
not.
other two guys.
That's
But
right. He's not ready for that, but
yeah,
still, I get what you're saying for sure.
yeah,
Um, I just more mentioned those two because I mean
sure,
Poirier's been on the radar for a number of years now. Obviously, he's
yeah.
gone through some injury issues, and he's had those problems, but he's supposed to
Ooh,
be
that
one
skate
of the
cut was
next guys.
terrible this year.
Was that?
The skate cut he got last year or the year
Oh,
before,
yeah, yeah,
that was
yeah. That
fucking
was
brutal,
brutal.
man.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember him
100%.
posting the social media picture of it. Oh, that's gross. And
Yeah,
I'm a guy who
yeah.
like lacerates myself open with stupidity all the time.
Well, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. I mean, essentially, what I think is happening right now is a great thing. Like we have options and decisions to make with a bunch of 25-year-old or younger players that could fill the same spot. And I don't believe the Flames would be worse off, right? Like
I
they could
agree.
like there's so I think it's a great position to be in because it's been a while. But I think the guys like Solyov and who else would I think would
Kuznetsov,
be in that? Yeah, Kuznetsov for sure. But I mean,
Gershnikov.
like we actually have options, and it's been a number of years since we've had options from the minors that are suitable, right?
Yeah,
They're not Valimaki, they're not Shillington. They're, in my opinion, defenders that can actually play NHL minutes.
yeah.
Obviously, I get it. Valimaki is playing NHL minutes. I still think he's a terrible
Dude,
defender.
he's Team
Yeah,
Finland.
sure.
Yeah, with
Hey,
Yanni Hakanpää and
yeah.
you know,
Well,
I think
stop
it's
the
like
press.
Miro Heiskanen and then 5
Yeah,
seventh defensemen.
right. Yeah, yeah. I bet you he feels great about the lineup. It's like, fuck, I'm playing 33 minutes.
Yeah, well, he should be because he's the second best defenseman on that.
He's the only actual defender on the team.
Yeah.
Hmm? So, yeah. Well,
Did we just
I
talk
think
about fucking Juuso Valimaki for 2 minutes?
well, I'm just going like if you look at the Flames in the past 5 years, like what have we had in the cupboard for defenders, right?
I do want to say, like, Juuso Valimaki, before that ankle injury that he had, I was fucking pumped. He
Yep.
looked so good. He looked so dynamic. He wasn't defensively bad, but then he got injured 1 year,
Mm.
and then he played another year, and then he got injured another year,
Yeah.
and it was just the worst timing for his development to get injured, and then like
I
it's
mean, he's suffered ever since, right?
yeah,
It screwed his career. I think it screwed
it's
the
too
amount of
bad.
money he could have potentially made playing in the NHL. Like it affected a lot of things for him, and it's super unfortunate.
I don't think he would have been a I don't think he would have been a, first defenseman type of
No,
guy, but he could have easily
no.
been a top 4 guy on a good team,
Mhm.
and he just got hampered by injuries, and
Mm.
unfortunately, that really fucked him, and,
Yeah.
honestly, I kinda think that leaving Calgary when he did was probably good for his career because he went to, Arizona and got a ton of minutes and then got hurt and then got a ton more minutes. And, you know, he's been a
Mhm.
mainstay on their roster on Utah now.
Yeah.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
He's just not
I
that good.
I honestly forgot where he's playing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
Team
yeah, it's
Finland.
just like I said, it's nice that we actually have a cupboard full of defenders, right?
Yeah.
Because we really haven't had that in so many years, and it's a good feeling. Obviously, we're we've got I'd say three guys that we need to make decisions on, through between trade deadline and the off season. But I think it's a good problem to have. And like I said,
Oh,
we
I
just
do too.
as a Flames fan, we just haven't done it in a while. So I like it.
We haven't even talked about fucking Brstevich,
Right.
who's
Right.
like honestly my favorite prospect that we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
on the
Yeah,
back end.
100%.
Like,
100%. Yeah.
and he's been improving from according to um the Wranglers coaching staff I
Mhm.
listen to on the radio every once in a while. They do a segment on the radio. He's been
Yeah.
improving massively defensively, and adding that to his high upside offensively.
That's right. Once he gets to the A, then that's the best
Well,
part
he's
of it,
been
right?
playing top line in the A for all
Yeah,
year.
you're right. Yeah, this year. Yeah. Well, I don't know that he's quite ready to make the jump, but but he's definitely going to be there. He's going to be
He
a
was
dynamic
really
player.
impressive in preseason,
Yeah, yeah,
which is preseason, right? But
sure. Yeah. He was really impressive playing against other AHL and lesser players,
yeah,
which is good. It's a start, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I think it's been an hour and 20 minutes, and we should probably get going. Don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, the Flames are still holding down a wild card spot, and that's exciting for those of us who may or may not want us to be in a playoff spot. We're also only 3 or 4 points away from
A
being
really
in the
good draft
bottom
pick.
12, which is also exciting for
Yep.
those of us who may or may not want us to be in the bottom
Yep.
of the league.
You
So
still got to cheer the goals. You got to cheer the wins, and hope for a really good position, either second round or third round of the playoffs, or a top 10 pick. I don't care which one it is. It's just not picking
well,
16.
I
That's it.
was looking earlier, and earlier today we would have matched up with the Kings. I
That
think
would
we
have
could
been a
beat the
good
Kings.
series. Yeah, that would have been a good series.
Yeah. Anyways, make sure you guys check out Rocky Mountain Maniacs, the band that wrote our theme song. On Facebook, on Spotify, we'll throw the link in the description.
Yep.
Make sure you like, subscribe, let us know how you feel about the Flames last couple weeks in the comment section down below. And yeah, go Flames, go.
Go Flames, go. Let's go, baby.
Cheers.